through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howse.
And welcome to the broadcast on this October 30th, 2025. October 30th, 2025. I have a first-time guest tonight, and that is James Lindsay, the anti-communist James Lindsay. He just got back from spending several days in Israel. I want to talk to him tonight about what's happening on the right. We got Nick Fuentes, who a lot of you don't know a lot about. I don't know a great deal about him other than he is somebody that's in his 20s that says a lot of things that I think are racist and certainly anti-Semitic. He's come out and told Tucker Carlson that he loves Stalin. And Tucker didn't really push back against that. Very interesting what's happening. And I dealt with some of this today on radio, but I want to interview James Lindsay tonight about it because he's been warning about much of this as well. And, you know, I really feel like, as I said in my book in 2011, Religious Trojan Horse, that much of the persecution that's coming is going to come from the right. I wrote that in 2011 because I was already experiencing persecution from many of the pro-family leaders because I was saying, I'm sorry, you can't unite up with the New Apostolic Reformation. These people that think they are modern-day prophets and apostles, they are freaks, absolute freaks. Logan, do we have any of those clips we can play? Like Rick Joyner talking about the casserole that never ends? Or talking about he was late for a meeting and a call. I mean, he was driving and it was going to be like a 2-hour trip or something like that. And all of a sudden he was just transported and was there. Woo! I mean, how about Cindy Jacobs saying she's reversing hysterectomies over the television? Really? Why are these kids not going up and down the halls of the hospitals at St. Jude down here in Memphis, healing these little cancer patients? I think this is all just clown show, a clown show. And I think they're the Christian Taliban, in my opinion, wanting to implement this reconstructionism and really a theocracy, which I'm not interested in at all. And I began to warn many of the pro-family leaders about this in 2011 when they wanted to have interviews with them and promote them, or people like Sid Roth. I got one by him too. And I got a lot of pushback from Tony Perkins of the Family Research Council, the American Family Association, American Family Radio Network. They were promoting these heretics and all the pragmatism they would go through to try to justify it. Which is very interesting because some of these people now are also promoting the hyper-Calvinist, the Reconstructionist, the Doug Wilson types. What a rat's nest and a woodpile on the right. And that's why I wrote the book, The Coming Religious Reich. First he was Religious Trojan Horse, then The Coming Religious Reich. And the persecution that's going to really come up out of the right. Not just religiously, but also then politically and socially from the right. And now look at what's happening with Tucker Carlson, what he's saying about the people I hate are the Christian Zionists. Look at all that's coming off of the side of the right. And here we are stuck in the middle, getting squeezed by the left and the right. I want to talk to James Lindsay about that tonight. And then I want to talk to Anni Cyrus about many issues that are going on in Iran. Very important things happening in the Middle East that a lot of folks aren't talking about, but I think we better talk about them. And we're going to do that tonight. In fact, there are hit lists. The hit lists are real. Okay. And we're going to talk about some of the hit lists. And as the red-green axis partner more and more, we're in bigger and bigger danger. Did you know, by the way, apparently they have moved up. They wanted to have all of these strike forces ready to go by April of 2026. We're reading now they want them to go by January of 2026. What's going on? And we still don't know what's going to go on with SNAP. Are they going to get that funded before it all expires on Saturday? I don't know. Well, if it happens and we got craziness on Saturday, I'll be right back here at the desk covering it and bringing it to you. We don't know if it's going to start Saturday or on the 3rd, which would be Monday, I believe. But either way, we're going to be here to cover it, keep you informed. And then let's talk to Dr. Basima about GLP-1. I want to talk about GLP-1, and I want to talk about red light saunas. Okay, let's talk about some of that tonight. All right. By the way, let me play some clips. These are clips going back to 2011, I think, when I showed some of these to Logan last week. He's like, we got to put some of these out there on social media. I said, I got the biggest collection of the religious freaks saying the craziest stuff. He couldn't believe the external hard drives they had full of these crazy clips. But these people are still around, folks. They're still around. And apparently a lot of folks want to work with these kind of people. Watch this. Here's one right here. Watch this. Sid Roth, I think. This is Sid Roth. Watch this.
The Bible talks about people being translated, being in one city and then finding themselves in another city just instantly. Has that happened to you?
That's happened to me.
Tell me about it.
Well, I was leaving Charlotte, North Carolina for Winston-Salem to go to a little home group. Now, this is years ago. And I was late leaving. It was about a 2-hour trip, and I was late. I was going to be late anyway, maybe 20, 30 minutes late. Then there was an accident on the interstate. I sat behind that for over an hour. And I figured once I got past the accident, I'm going to be 2 hours late. I'll get there right at the end of the meeting. And I said, well, I'm going anyway. I said I was coming. I'm going to go. Now, I had to take Interstate 77 North, intersect Interstate 40, and go east for a while. So anyway, as soon as I get past this accident, it's like all of a sudden I look up and I didn't recognize this truck. I didn't recognize the other vehicles around me. And I thought I'd maybe fallen asleep or something. You know, you might drift off, and it shocked me. And then I looked up and I'm at the exit on the other interstate. Interstate 40, and I thought then...
How long should it take for that to occur?
At least an hour and 15 to 20 minutes, maybe an hour. And
we're going to see miracles like, multiplying of food and things like that. We all want to see these miracles. We just don't want to be in a situation where we have to see them. But guess what? We're going to be in a situation where we're going to need to see some of these miracles, and we are. I've seen those before. I've seen food multiplied. I mean, you can't see it. You look at the dish and you can't see it, but we keep dishing out, and it's the same amount. We fed we fed a huge group one time from one casserole, and it just never ran out.
That's Rick Joyner. And that's who the American Family Association, American Family Radio are interviewing guys like this and promoting guys like this. And that's when I said, I'm sorry, I'm out. I know we've worked together for 15 years, but if you're going down this road, I ain't going with you. I'm out. And we have watched the persecution that's come from the right for years because we're like, we're not going down to Crazy Town with you people. If you want to go to Crazy Town, you go on your own. We're not going with you, okay? And I wrote the book, Religious Trojan Horse. And in that book, I warned about all of this religious right and what they would do and how they would make real Christians look, and really setting us up for persecution. And I think really a lot of the comments by people like Tucker Carlson talking about how much he hates the Christian Zionists, that seems to be gaslighting for really somehow a justification in the minds of people, whether on the left, the right, or the Islamists, to come after Christians. So I think we're living in very dangerous times for real Christians. Now, if these people are really thinking that they are modern day prophets and apostles, I'm sorry, they apparently don't know the Bible. And sadly, most Christians don't know the Bible. Because to be an apostle, you had to see the risen Lord. Did you know that? There's criteria to be an apostle. I mean, there's a difference between being an apostle of the Lord Jesus Christ and an apostle of the church, meaning a missionary or sent one, right? A missionary or sent one. But to be an apostle of the Lord Jesus Christ, you had to see the risen Lord. You had to be called of God. And there are only a limited office of 12. And of course, we know they have to lay down the foundational doctrine of the church. Paul, a special apostle, many believe, had his encounter with the risen Lord. And yes, they could do signs and wonders to give authenticity and veracity to the message that they were proclaiming and the foundational doctrine of the church they were laying down. But even many of my charismatic friends and denominations, the Assemblies of God, for instance, out of Missouri several years ago, put out a warning about these modern day prophets and apostles and said, be very careful of these people. We don't see any continuation for the office of apostles, evangelists, elders, deacons, but not apostles. We see no continuation or succession or election thereof. But Jesus, as well as the other writers of the New Testament, warn us over and over about the rise of false prophets and false apostles. And yes, a false dominant church is being created, a form of Christian nationalism, which that term, by the way, has a lot of meanings for a lot of different people. So when people use it, you'd ask them, what do you mean by that? I don't use that term. I'm not interested in Christian nationalism. I'm interested in borders, our own currency, our own laws, our own sovereignty. But that's just being a constitutional republic. But the similarities of Christian nationalism, where you implement some kind of theocracy, like I think you're hearing that from guys like hyper-Calvinist and I think heretic Doug Wilson and many that are part of what's called the Seven Mountain Mandate and Reconstructionism. And we know that's what many in the New Apostolic Reformation believe. That's what my whole 500-page book's about. How many of these people think they're going to become sinless and raise the dead? Become a sinless special group of people who are able to raise the dead, do all kinds of signs and wonders and miracles, and that the political leaders of the world will be leaning on them to make decisions. Oh, my. Now you got Rick Joyner, the never-ending casserole. Did you hear? He said, we fed lots of people. He almost said multitude. Like, really? How about the one of Cindy Jacobs? You got the one of her? Talking about reversing hysterectomies over the television? We have a ton of these, folks. And these are in our vault. And if they're not in our vault, they will be soon, because some of them, when we updated our system, fell out. And we've got them all on an external hard drive, and we're adding them all back in so you can have them. But I bring all this up tonight to show you that there is a falling away from traditionally held biblical truths. And this isn't about, oh, well, you're not charismatic. No, because many of my charismatic friends and some of the denominations have said, you better look out for these New Apostolic Reformation people. They're false prophets and false apostles. I interviewed a Pentecostal guy who's written a book about it a few years ago. He's a Pentecostal, and he wrote a book warning about these false prophets and apostles. I have a friend of mine in town who's a Pentecostal guy, and he's like, yeah, these people are dangerous. Yeah, they realize what they're really about. They think they're going to create this new breed of Christian. And it's really steeped in, I think, occultism. And again, I don't have time to go into it tonight. It's in my book, Religious Trojan Horse. But all that to say, there is, out of the religious area, out of the religious environment, out of the religious movements, out of the political movements, there is becoming such apostasy, and that's on the right. And then you add the left, and who's caught in the middle? Traditional, conservative, Judeo-Christian worldview adherents and constitutionalists were caught in the middle. Zionists, Christian Zionists, caught in the middle. And this is going to bring a lot of persecution. And you're going to be shocked when a lot of it comes from the right, not just the left. All right, let's see what else we got tonight. Make sure you go over to worldviewreport.com. Take a look at this, worldviewreport.com. Remember, this is your daily aggregated news site, worldviewreport.com. Lots of stuff over there. There it is. Pentagon readying thousands of Guard reaction forces as U.S. mission widens. Yeah. Apparently, they want them ready to go a lot earlier than we were ultimately being told, was April 2026. Now, apparently, they want it to go as quickly as January 2026. Are they expecting something? I should ask Anni Cyrus about this tonight. But all of this is at worldviewreport.com. Okay, here's a great article we don't have time to get into tonight. Tucker Carlson's lies about Israel. That's from my friend Jimmy Glazoff. Here we go. Top military officials are moving onto military bases. Stephen Miller, Marco Rubio, Kristi Noem, and others have taken over homes that until recently housed senior officers. I don't blame them. Yeah, exactly. For weeks before Kirk's death, activists had been protesting the Millers' presence in northern Arlington, Virginia. Yeah, I would not blame them for going into housing on a military base that can be secure. And, you know, I've told this audience for several years that I think security is going to become one of the biggest issues of the day for Christians and conservatives. We know that several years ago, Antifa types were making maps of the offices and homes of Christians and conservatives. But guess who had their home doxxed? Guess who was saying, well, here's where he lives, here's where he goes to church? Was it the left? It was people on the right from a Bible ministry. Why were they doing that? Because they didn't agree with my taking on interfaith dialogue with a Jew-hating, Holocaust-denying, Hitler-defending, jihadi-preaching imam. Wait a minute. Where was this persecution and doxing coming from? A Bible ministry. John MacArthur's people at Grace to You. Yeah, his executive director and one of the guys in the mailroom. Really? You were being doxed and harassed and, oh yeah, you can't even imagine the stuff that they were doing and saying online. And that was from the Bible ministry people. Yeah. Yeah. A false dominant church with a false gospel. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. So no wonder more and more of our officials are moving onto military bases because the persecution coming from the right, from the left, it's all over the place now. And it's only going to get worse, unfortunately. That's over at worldviewreport.com tonight, worldviewreport.com. Let's see what else we got here real quick. I guess, did you guys see this? Look at this. Newsom's prostitution law creates disturbing new sex market in LA. PJ Media. This is disgusting. Listen to this. California Governor Newsom's hemp shield law, pushed by Democratic legislator Scott Wiener, remember us talking about him with Nicole Pearson, has helped foster a disturbing new sex market on, however you say the name of that street, Figueroa Street in Los Angeles, featuring prostitutes as young as 12 and 13 years old. For far too long, the kiddie stroll, as it's known, has gone unreported because major media outlets refuse to cover it, allowing it to flourish under the watch of Democratic politicians. But now it's time to shine a light in the darkness and expose the truth about what's happening to these poor young girls and why nothing's been done to bring the whoring evil to an end. An article from the New York Times Magazine is finally covering this horrific scene in Los Angeles, though they've conveniently neglected to cover anything concerning the prostitution laws Newsom's administration passed. Quote, for the 77th Street Division, which covers the northern half of Figueroa corridor, prostitution had always been a problem. But in recent years, the officers had seen the magnitude of child sex trafficking explode, end quote, wrote reporter Emily Baumgardner Nunn. Quote, gangs that had long sold drugs began to take advantage of Figueroa's lucrative opportunity. With a dozen girls, one trafficker could easily make $12,000 a night. Drugs are sold once and gone forever, but girls can be resold indefinitely, said a police sergeant who had been in the division for 2 decades. Motel owners who noticed the parade of customers but feared the gang's retribution kept quiet. There's little doubt that much of the silence and fear of gang retaliation for speaking out against this vile form of human trafficking stems from the lack of police presence on California streets, particularly in Los Angeles. Let me skip on down for the sake of time. Newsom signed SB 357, the law that handcuffed police in 2022 after a strong, sickening push by Wiener. However, none left both Wiener and Newsom out of her report and failed to explain the pro-prostitution bill, which Wiener claims provides legal support for minorities, gays, and transgender individuals. The ACLU backed the bill. So apparently, we've got a bill that allows for this to continue. Signed by Newsom, SB 357. Apparently, the prosecutor has started referring to this department. By the end of 2023, the city attorney started referring to Figueroa as the kiddie stroll because many of the girls working there were under 13. And this bill, SB 3357, signed by Newsom, handcuffed the police in 2022 after a strong, sickening push by Weiner. Well, there you go, folks. It's time for the Democratic voters, they wrote, to wake up and look at the reality around them. Children suffer abuse for money at the hands of twisted perverts, and voters enable it by supporting politicians devoid of moral values. The blood of this innocent stains their hands as much as it stains Newsom's. Wow. New prostitution law creates disturbing new sex market in LA. That's over at worldviewreport.com. There's so many things over there, folks, we put up every day we never have time to get to. We never have time to get to because there's so much going on. All right? Okay, if you guys appreciate what we're doing, we need your support. But will you do me a favor? Will you call this number, 901-468-9357? Do I have that right, guys? 901-468-9357. Will you call that number and leave a voicemail that we can play on the air, telling us what you appreciate about our network, about our programs, how they've maybe impacted you, how they help you, how they serve you? Because we'd like to start playing a bunch of these. Do we have any we can play tonight, Logan? We'd like to start playing a bunch of these. And particularly to let people know that we're having an impact here and that we're an organization worthy of supporting because we're impacting lives. And we want to hear about how we have impacted your life or that of your child or your children or grandchildren. Some of you have been following us 20, 30 plus years. We'd love to hear from you. Will you leave a voicemail? 901 that we can play on the air. 901-468-9357. 901-468-9357. And will you go to worldviewfoundation.com and support us? Worldviewfoundation.com to help us keep pushing out free programming just like this. We sure appreciate it. Do we have one we can play, Logan? I got one that's 10 seconds. Oh, he'll have one in 10 seconds. All right. He said he has a lot, but he's just going to grab one. We're going to start playing. Oh, from Lucy? All right, I know who Lucy is. We're going to start playing a lot of these, but here we go. Listen to this one.
Hi, this is Lucy in Tennessee. Just want to thank you, Brannon, Melissa, and Logan, for the excellent, true news and programs that are on 24/7. I particularly appreciate the Bible studies, the vault, all the sponsors, the excellent sponsors that you have. I've got so many of the products. And I love hearing the updates from Aaron and Israel. Thank you for your ministry, and I just pray for y'all every day and that people would support Worldview Foundation. God bless and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you. Continue on standing strong for Jesus. Praise the Lord. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you, Lucy. Lucy, we really appreciate her, that's for sure. All right, guys, can you do the same thing? We'll play a bunch of these as we move toward the end of the year and want people to be made aware of what we're doing and that we are impacting lives and that we're worthy of investing in and supporting. So please consider leaving a testimony like Lucy just did. Not that hard, right? Thank you, Lucy. 901-468-9357, 901-468-9357. You notice she mentioned our sponsors real quick. Then we're going to go to James Lindsay. She mentioned our sponsors real quick. And these sponsors, between our foundation and our sponsors, and our foundation is one of our sponsors, but these sponsors are so important, not only because their products work and have a great impact. But with each purchase of each product and each powerful health supporting product, they give back a percentage to us to keep us going. These are very, very important sponsors. We would be in big, big trouble without these sponsors. But these are not just sponsors we promote at whim. We have a lot of people that want us to promote their products. We turn them down. We have to believe in the product. We have to know the product's legit to the point I will use it or Melissa uses it. So we do use this. I use Swish for Life, the glutathione. I have the satellite phone at Worldview Talk, the solar generator. I've done business with Swiss America for a gazillion years. You know I take the Bella Grace every day. We've got the brand new Bella Melt, the GLP-1 to help you lose weight, curb your appetite. The Worldview Healthcare, which has all the medications that you need to have on hand so you can be your own, urgent care. The water filter, I have one in my kitchen, one in my shower. The Gatatana, I take that every day. Dolly gets half a scoop. She gets the pet product. So all of these are important to support us and keep us going, please. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Check them out, folks. Hey, let's get started. Joining me now is James Lindsay. Many of you already know who he is because he has a lot of followers on X, on social media, and but some of you maybe don't. So we'll bring him on, let him introduce himself to you. James, welcome back to the broadcast. Thank you for being with us. I know you've just returned from several days in Israel. I know you're jet lagged. So thank you so much for making time for our audience tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now, by the way, did you get some kind of award while you were in Israel?
No, I just went and I saw the country. I saw the story. I was asked to speak once by contract before I went. So I spoke near the end, but they actually ended up having me speak at 3 different venues while I was there. So It was really a productive trip.
Good. All right. Someone told me you were being honored for being a righteous Gentile standing up for the Jews, but you are doing that, though. You are doing that, aren't you?
Yes, I am. And rumors of that kind have reached me too, but there was no honoring yet. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, tell me, how old are you?
I am 46 years old.
Okay, so you're 46. You look very young, so that's why I asked. And you're trying to reach this generation that is being largely taken in by Nick Fuentes. Now, I've not spent a lot of time talking about him until this week because Tucker Carlson interviewing him and his praising Stalin, and we've played the clip, and calling him a great man. And then his attack on the Jews. I just watched another video that my son, who's our vice president of operations, showed me from a few months ago, I guess, where Nick is talking about how great it'd be if China took over and cut off the hands of black people that were stealing and all these other. I'm like, this guy, is he that full on racist and anti-Semitic? I mean, the stuff coming out of his mouth, is he a shock jock? Does he really believe this? If he is a shock jock doing it for ratings, the problem is, it's wrong still, and he's influencing a lot of people with this. What do you know about this guy? Where did he come from? Is anyone funding him?
I would love to know if somebody's funding him or where he came from. I know that he lives in Chicago. I know that he started this kind of much more radical movement among young conservatives over 10 years ago or around 10 years ago, even though he's only 28 years old now. And that he set his sights on kind of latching on to Turning Point USA as a growth strategy by doing this technique where he'll send people in and get attention and kind of infiltrate the events. And Charlie Kirk was having none of it. Within a few years, Charlie kind of had his number, banned him and his followers from basically everything. I think he is probably at least semi-serious with these beliefs that he expresses, but it's hard to say. He claims everything is a joke when he gets caught, and that stretches across the gamut of these beliefs. He always gives himself a little nugget of plausible deniability. He'll say all this crazy stuff like you mentioned, and then he'll say, I never call for political violence, so he gives himself a little bit of an out. So it's very difficult to tell for sure what he believes, but like you said, he's influencing a increasingly large body of young people. He's drawn heavily off of the Turning Point USA crowd, which has accelerated, obviously, since Charlie's murder. And he's radicalizing a lot of them. A lot of them are actually troubled people who have problems with alcoholism, problems with pornography, problems with other things, who are not well. And a lot of them take it very seriously. He runs his operation openly as a cult. He has a cult pledge, which is, and I quote, I will, how's it go? I will kill, rape, and die for Nicholas J. Fuentes. If I'm not mistaken, those are the three things. So he openly says he's running a cult, and he has a lot of young people who are kind of the lost boys of Gen Z caught up in this, believing that the things he says about Jews and Israel and racial minorities and gay people and everything else and women are all secret truths that we've all lost, and that's why our society's going sideways.
So dangerous. And then Tucker gives him a platform. And what's so concerning is that Tucker has not yet, I don't think, been canceled from being a keynote speaker at the Turning Point USA event coming up in December. And yet, doesn't Nick say things about Kirk's wife and his death? Is he not saying some things about that, James?
Yes, he has. And of course, even just right before Charlie's murder, he was talking about how he was basically single-handedly destroying Charlie's organization. Charlie, of course, there's been a text message that's been leaked now, referred to Nick as vermin, and he had scolded Dinesh D'Souza for debating him a few months ago, saying everything you do involving him raises his profile. Charlie wouldn't even mention his name in many cases, afraid to raise his profile. But like I said, Nick has targeted Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk for most of a decade. He was operating an organization parasitically off of Turning Point events to try to grow a following, and has been nothing but a problem for them. And now he's saying these awful things, whether it's about Charlie's wife, whether it's about Charlie's organization, whether it's about Charlie himself. And yet, yeah, Tucker decided to interview him in the most gentle, kind of, positive, let's give you a nice profile, not a hard hitting, it's not like he's interviewing Ted Cruz or something with a hard hitting interview trying to drive into some details. And he's nevertheless, still the headliner for Turning Point's events. It's a very awkward situation. I think that, in fact, Tucker is doing this partly to attack Turning Point, if you ask me what my opinion is about that.
Is he trying to get Turning Point to cancel him and therefore create controversy?
Yeah, I mean, these are the two options that Turning Point really has. Unless it comes up with something very creative, it can either say, we draw the line here. This Nick Fuentes thing was too far. He was had so much animosity to TPUSA, to Charlie, to everything, that we draw the line, which I think actually they should do. At which point Tucker will say, I'm being censored, Turning Point USA is controlled by Jews, or whatever it happens to be, and they'll turn up the volume on an attack against TPUSA to maximum volume. Or Turning Point has the option to stand by Tucker Carlson and say, no, we're all going to unite, we're not going to break apart, whatever we're all rowing in the same direction, I think is what Andrew Colvett said the other day, still defending Tucker in that tweet. And if they do that, then they take on this not just character of Nick Fuentes by kind of a transitive property of having given a profiling interview, but also the fact that Nick Fuentes, with all of his baggage, was a direct personal enemy of Charlie and everything he stood for. And Turning Point USA, he declared wars. He called them Groyper wars on Turning Point USA repeatedly, trying to destroy the organization. So this puts Turning Point USA in a bind. They're in a very tough bind. I think the right option is to use this as the opportunity to draw the line and say that enough is enough. I don't know what Tucker's doing. We wish him well. We hope he gets back in alignment with clear thinking, but we can't have this at our event. But on the other hand, they're going to get attacked for that. They'll get viciously attacked.
I don't know, again, where Turning Point USA is going. I was on the air when Charlie was shot. I was on 74 Christian stations plus our TV network. Logan tells me in my ear, Charlie's been shot. I turned to the X to look, and there it all is in the gory. And we were on the air. I was on the air for over 8 hours. I was on the air for like 5 hours straight. Got up, had an hour off, went back on for another 2.5, 3 hours. And we covered it a lot for a good couple weeks. And we saw many positive things come out of the memorial service and different strong statements being made about faith and finding a a good Bible teaching church, and other things that were really well said. But since then, some of the people they're platforming at these rallies around the country, I'm seeing such a hodgepodge of religious beliefs, of eschatological beliefs, of theological beliefs, that I said to my audience, if they don't get this under control, Turning Point USA, we're going to have to call them Turning Point into Apostasy USA, because they're getting very schizophrenic. They're all over the map. They need to pick a side and say, this is our theology, this is our eschatology. You know, you're interviewing everybody from Doug Wilson, who is just about as out there as they come in the, quote, Christian world with his hyper-Calvinism, Reconstructionism, which is basically, to me, a kind of a Christian Taliban, if you will, of the Seven Mountain Mandate, Reconstructionism. And then you have other people on, and it's running the gamut so much. I'm like, you're confusing the living daylights out of people. Whether they know it or not, you're confusing young people, okay? You cannot introduce them to good, solid people and then turn around and introduce them to people like Tucker Carlson. Not that you have to introduce him, but you're going to platform him apparently still, or Doug Wilson. I mean, they have got to pick their compass. Would you agree?
No, yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, what I've thought for a long time, not that it's my place, and I have had for up until the last year or so, I had a really close relationship with Turning Point USA and Charlie. And of course, I had a relationship, I still have a good relationship with Turning Point Faith, which is kind of interesting that that's the side that I still have the stronger relationship with. But at any rate, I've thought that since they have Turning Point Faith, that while faith can obviously bleed in, nobody has to leave their faith at the door. I think it's very important, I would think, for Turning Point USA to either declare clearly what theology they're standing for, or preferably to say, this is the secular side of the organization, this is the big tent political movement, and not make that the focus, where Turning Point Faith can then deal with, you know, that level of clarity and its mission and state exactly what it's looking for, and to have that aspect available. But at the present moment, like you said, it's, you know, kind of anybody who has been a sufficiently loud voice on the right. And in fact, a lot of people who are following in the coattails of Tucker Carlson are kind of the lineup, if you want to know what this kind of schizophrenia looks like. I mean, Doug Wilson, for example, was welcomed into the Turning Point camp after Tucker Carlson gave him another one of these high-profiling interviews. And which point Charlie discovered him and thought, wow, this guy's great. And there's a lot going on under the hood that it's not clear that Charlie was fully aware of with Pastor Wilson. So, or maybe he was, I don't know. He's not here to speak for that. So, yeah, I agree with you. There needs to be some big clarity. I was talking to Charlie for most of the year prior to his murder, telling him that I know he's a big bridge builder. I know he's a big coalition guy, but it's going to be time to draw lines. And, you know, I think he was trying to do the impossible. I just picture him like, you know, Hercules or whatever, with his arms out trying to hold up the pillars of this huge coalition. And it was just a task that was really taxing for him. But I think that has left a situation now where lines have not been drawn, and that ambiguity is being taken advantage of in a very big and bad way, and that the organization has to do something about that.
Mm-hmm. Well said. And, you know, my opinion, based on my discussions with Bill Federer, who's been a friend of mine for 30 years, and traveled to South Korea with Charlie the week before he was murdered, is that Charlie was talking about running for office. And I don't know how high at state or federal level, but if you're looking to use your platform to launch a campaign, then you keep all those kind of people around, right? But if you're not running for office, then you do well. If you want a viable long-term organization that's not schizophrenic, you pick your foundation, you pick your course, you have a compass, and you say, this is our mission, this is our doctrinal statement, this is where we're going, right? And I'm thinking that, I don't know, if pragmatism slipped in, is like, well, we got to do this because you have to build a big tent because I have to use it to go run for office. And I think that's what was going on. My gut tells me that's what he was doing.
I know that's part of it. I also know that Charlie was just a genuinely good man who believed he could reach both a lot of the people that are on this list of kind of questionable voices, but also people in the audience, these kind of lost young men, the lost boys of Gen Z or whatever, who feel so beaten down by feminism, cheated by COVID, struggling under the circumstances of the housing market and so on. Charlie was overwhelmingly concerned with them and wanted to reach them and knew how easy it would be to alienate them. So I just picture the guy doing this Herculean task of trying to hold things together that cannot be held together. And now he's not here, so it becomes all that much more difficult.
Let's talk about what I refer to as the pincher strategy. I think that's a term that's used in the national security realms when you try to take a country or people and pinch them between two groups, kind of this Hegelian dialectic process, thesis and antithesis, idea, opposite idea, and we pit groups against each other. I am increasingly, and I warned about this in my book in 2011, The Coming Religious, or that one was Trojan Horse, Religious Trojan Horse, 2011. And then again in my book, 2018, Marxianity, that Bible-believing, conservative, anti-communist, patriotic, constitutional republic Christians or patriots who hold to Christian ideals are increasingly going to find themselves pinched by the right and the left. And I actually, in my book in 2011, Religious Trojan Horse, predicted that the greatest persecution coming for Christians would be from the right, that the persecution would rise drastically from the right. And over the years, even as outspoken as I have been about communism, Islam, I had a gunman from Saudi Arabia come to my conference, filmed it, made a video brandishing 5 weapons, 2 semi-automatics, and he did 7 months in federal prison for that. But and yes, they did get the venues canceled when we were on the road with putting terrorist threats against our buildings. But aside from that, and some emails, my greatest attacks that I at least know of have not come from the Islamists. They have come from people on the right, our so-called right, the religious right and the political right. But here we are pinched now in the middle, and that is increasing. The attacks, like Tucker Carlson saying, I hate the Christian Zionists the most. Well, that's me, okay? I'm a Christian and I'm a Zionist. I believe in the historical right of the land of the Jews. That makes me a Zionist. I also believe in their biblical right. That makes me a Christian Zionist. And he just said he hates the Christian Zionists the most. And the level of hatred coming against Christians, Zionists, Christian Zionists, and Jews from both the right and the left is ramping up in a way that I think it's setting up for Islam, frankly, to feel some justification to murder people. And as they go on their jihad or 0 hour or the perfect day or their own October 7th event, many on the right are taking these people and giving them, basically, in my opinion, the justification to murder Christian Zionists. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm extremely concerned about that. I mean, Tucker's been expressing how he's, the most disgusting people in the world to me. He's always talking about whoever's the most disgusting. And it always seems to be the people who are most opposed to whatever it is politically that he's trying to accomplish. And he comes up with some way to make it disgusting. But the rhetoric that you're talking about and the squeeze, I've been using the phrase dialectical scissors, as a matter of fact, for about a year now in a lot of the workshops that I've been doing and a lot of things I've been writing. The idea that, in fact, with the scissors, you have this, that the left blade is moved by the right hand and the right blade is moved by the left hand. So you have this kind of, activism from the left generates the cutting blade from the right, and vice versa. And I think that this situation is absolutely crucial for the American public to understand, and to understand the role of this radical or dissident or new or woke right in playing this game with the American conservative movement and the American public. And I don't doubt that what you're saying is, what you see with all dialectical activism, since you brought up that fancy word, is this kind of like generation of permission structures. Barack Obama was very good at generating permission structures for the radicals on the left to start filling in the gap and then running amok. And of course, by 2015, that's exactly what they were doing. And so what you see here with the kind of language and the arguments that Tucker and then a lot of these other guys online is that they're creating these permission structures, whether it's to hate Jews or to hate Christian Zionists or to hate dispensationalists or any Bible-believing Christians or whatever it happens to be. And whoever might end up taking advantage of those permission structures, whether it's Muslims or otherwise, once they're there, you have a real problem on your hands. And so what we're watching is those permission structures being built out. It's creating that pincher, like you said, which my Jewish friends, by the way, call the Jew squeeze. Like, they're very aware of the Jew squeeze, where you ramp up the anti-Semitism on the left and then ramp it up on the right and squeeze them so they have nowhere to hide, nowhere to go. I keep getting told, actually, now you know what it's like to be a Jew, because I've been squeezed out of the left and squeezed out of the right. And where they all go, and Zionism, is they all go to Israel. They make Aliyah, and until I went there this past week, I didn't understand why you would go to what amounts to an active war zone in the Middle East, but you actually feel safer there. It's amazing. So I'm very concerned, to answer your question again directly, with this building out of permission structures and this savvy attack from the radicals on each side. And I agree with you completely. I called my friend that I work with back in January of 2021. I had a run-in with some of these radicals on the right and talked to them for a little bit. And I became so alarmed that I called him and was like, listen, as much as we're doing about the left, and as big as a problem the left is that the radical right, there's a day coming where it'll be unambiguous that it is the bigger problem for American freedom and the American Republic, and we're going to have to prepare for that day. So I agree with you completely.
And isn't that interesting? You and I are now meeting for the first time. We're using some of the same phrases. I call it the pincher strategy. You're calling it the scissor strategy, basically. You know, we're using some of the same, but that's because we both have studied the Hegelian dialectic. George Hegel influenced, of course, Karl Marx. So we study the same philosophies and ideas and worldviews and values that bring us to the same conclusions, which I always find fascinating when I meet someone and find out we are having the same conclusions, and yet we haven't really read each other's stuff other than me reading occasionally some of your tweets. I didn't know you were saying that. And so it's confirmation we're on the right track. Because sometimes you wonder, am I on the right track, or am I reading into this too much? And I'm sure you do that same thing. You know, we have this group, the Reconstructionists, the Dominionists. And I hate to say it, but apparently Pete Hegseth is being influenced and going to one of Doug Wilson's plant churches in Tennessee. And, you know, these people, I call them the Christian Taliban, right? They want to put us back up under the 10 Commandments. They think we're the new Israel. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And they got their prophets, and then some of them in the New Apostolic Reformation, not to confuse the Reconstructionist and the Dominionist with the New Apostolic, because these are different groups, but they kind of run together in some ways. But then you got the New Apostolic with their prophets and apostles who think they're raising the dead, healing the blind. You know, they're absolute freaks, you know, and I wrote extensively about them in my book, Religious Trojan Horse. And yet you've got Tony Perkins, the American Family Association, American Family Radio Network. You got some of the biggest pro-life, pro-family leaders uniting up with these so-called modern-day prophets and apostles that are, you know, they're just way out there. And we're talking now about making alliances with people, many of them, that look at us as though we're as much the problem as the Islamist. The way they talk about Bible-believing Christian dispensationalists, in some cases, they talk worse about us. And some of them, ironically, are taking money from Qatar, I think.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised to find that out, especially after, you know, the emphasis that I heard when I was in Israel over the past week and a half or so. It's just how often we'd have these kinds of conversations. And it's, I don't know, where there's smoke, there's not always fire, but there usually is. But the word Qatar basically came up every time. So that's the big concern there. And, you know, Christian Taliban is one way to put this. Christian Gramsciists, for people who understand the
Antonio Gramsci
institution. Yeah. That's right. Antonio Gramsci and his cultural Marxist or Western Marxist emphasis on what he called boring from within, going inside the institutions and taking over. That's what the Seven Mountain Mandate is all about. We're going to take over these cultural institutions, and we're going to force people to transform their values by producing the culture around them through these culture-producing institutions, and then we can have a revolution in the name of our program. And so what you see is this same kind of idea that's kind of the dead opposite of the Great Commission. It's not going around and converting hearts. It's not going around and converting minds. It's through persuasion and friendship and charity and all of the different Christian virtues. It's instead, we're going to set up a political order where, you don't have to be a Christian, but it's going to be really uncomfortable if you're not. So you coerce people into kind of this false belief. Then you hear, I don't think he's one of them specifically. I don't even know where he falls in the religious ladder, but you got this kind of funding mogul named Charles Haywood that's written this crazy foundationalist manifesto. I know he's connected to a lot of this Christian nationalism movement. He's funded a lot of it. He runs the Society for American Civic Renewal. And he's got this manifesto, and one of the pillars of the manifesto is this Christian nationalism. And he actually says in there that he just doesn't care if people actually believe Christianity or not. What he cares is that they act Christian and profess Christianity in public because it'll create a better social order. And it's just like spitting on the Great Commission when you see that. So this is a really concerning movement as well. And I share your concerns here.
Well, and I know I want to let you go because I know you got jet lagged like crazy coming back from Israel. But then you got Peter Thiel. And Peter Thiel is kind of running in this same camp of people, right? Now he's, of course, all concerned about the Antichrist. And we can either have Antichrist or Armageddon, or maybe we can have a third system, a third thing we create. And he's running in that crowd. So it seems as though, once again, people with bigger agendas are buying up so-called Christianity, a segment of Christianity, a segment of evangelicalism, a segment of the Protestant world. They're buying up the conservative area for a bigger agenda. And I don't know where J.D. Vance is going to come down in all this, but I'm a little more concerned about his relationship with Peter Thiel. He was asked last night about Palantir and all that at Ole Miss in about an hour and 10 minutes where I'm sitting right now. It seemed like a lot of the questions, I'm told by the young 20-somethings in our control room, that a lot of the questions last night to J.D. Vance were coming from Nick Fuentes people. Those are Nick questions, the kind of things Nick talks about. And if that is, again, an indication of how much Nick is penetrating the young college students, we're in big trouble. But J.D. Vance is going to have to also pick a side here very quickly, because I hear a lot of people that are about ready to be done with J.D. Vance after he's no longer Trump's vice president. What are your thoughts?
I'm hearing exactly the same thing. And again, I agree. What I think people need to understand about these activities, you said a lot of these young people coming in and commenting are Nick Fuentes questions or Nick Fuentes people, maybe. Well, I need people to understand that the left did the same thing, the queer theorists in particular, but the BLM people also, kind of both of those again, another scissor, arms of the leftist woke movement. What they would do is when people, especially the Democrats or whatever, would have a major event, they would make sure that they would have their people go and that their people would line up as early as possible to be one of the people who asked a question, and then they would ask a very destabilizing question. They would inject their radical politics as a kind of strategic resistance or whatever to attack the person on stage. Well, that in queer theory is called queering. When you take something and you inject queer theory into it, they call it queering. They take the word queer and turn it into a verb. Well, Nick Fuentes calls this activity groyping after his movement, which he's named the Groypers, Groyper. It's named after a cartoon frog. It takes a lot to explain how stupid this is. It's very internet. But anyway, to groyp has become a verb, and it means to show up and ask these kinds of, very radical questions, specifically to kind of take the speaker and put them in an awkward position. They did this to Glenn Beck when he spoke at one of these Turning Point activities. This is more proof that Nick Fuentes is attacking Turning Point. He says that just the other day that the groyping of Turning Point events will continue. So he's sending these people. What proportion of young people, what proportion of the crowd they are is very unclear, because the goal is to make it look like they're a large segment of the audience by putting them up on the question. But maybe there's just a few. When Glenn Beck did it, they then take the video, they make it look like Glenn Beck didn't know how to answer, even though he did, and they try to embarrass him and make it look like they're a cultural force. The left did this as well, but Glenn actually answered splendidly. Other people dug that up and showed it, and once they saw that, Glenn gave these great answers, the crowd erupts like their team won the Super Bowl. So I don't know how endemic this actually is, or how much of it is an image being created by a manipulation of the media space, which is a technique we should be familiar with from Antifa, BLM, and the queer theorists that we've been dealing with for 5 or 10 years. But it's concerning. You have literally the vice president of the United States being put on the spot by 18-year-olds who've been radicalized online with awkward questions that allege blood libels against the Jews. This is a serious situation, no matter how you cut it.
So, final question. Don't hold back. What do you see happening to our country in the next 12 to 24 months? Based on China and, of course, their move or lack thereof against Taiwan, what's going on with North Korea. Putin has just tested the Poseidon, something we've been covering now since 2018, that unmanned torpedo can carry a huge warhead on it. We've got Russia and Ukraine, and of course, we're behind that with the Central Intelligence Agency. We're encouraging Zelensky to strike deeper and help him strike deeper into Russia. You have NATO, which is a lot of those European nations are on the verge of financial collapse. Elon said that Europe is on the verge of a civil war. I don't know if the Democrats are going to open the government and fund SNAP here in the U.S., but people are making videos about shooting each other over groceries. You look at the whole globe, and it seems like to me, in some ways, this is all being orchestrated. Again, the Hegelian dialectic. It's like James McGregor Burns said in his book, 1984, The Power to Lead. The founding fathers have been too shrewd for us, too smart for us. Frail tinkering and bridges won't get the job done. Only under a stupendous national crisis where we get the people to go where we want them to go. Something to me smells like we're being set up. And I'm not sure President Trump even understands the levers being pulled here. But we're being set up even on a global scale for a house of cards to collapse, whether we're talking about what is said to be $17 trillion in fraudulent Ponzi scheme school bonds, to the derivatives the banks are holding. I mean, we could turn around and talk all day about all the tipping points, but it seems to me something's being set up. So we go to a whole new system, digital system, ID system, JITA 21, 16.9. Everybody's, got a ID. We've numbered everybody. It's not, aside from the spiritual aspect of it, it's not coincidental that nations, and particularly the Western societies, once were underpinned by a strong Christian worldview. Of course, out of Europe, you had the abolitionist movement getting birthed by Christians out of a print shop. When you look at what's really collapsing is the traditionally Christian westernized societies to then bring about the new system. What are your closing comments on what people should be seeing, looking at, and expecting in the next 12 to 24 months, particularly as we look toward the midterms and 2028?
We're being put to the test right now. This is the test. Back in January, the day before the inauguration, I was asked to speak for PragerU in DC. So I was there in the Lincoln Room in the Waldorf Astoria that used to be the Trump International. And rather than speaking about education, I kind of wiggled it in a little bit. I was supposed to talk about education, but I just gave a warning that the test was coming. And I warned about this rising radical right and this idea of the scissors. And I wanted the people in the room, even though they're high as a kite, they were calling everything, it's conservative Disneyland. And I was like, Disneyland's in Burbank, which is by the Palisades, which is on fire. Let's calm down about how good things are right now. We're about to go through a test. This test will be domestic. It will be this squeeze or this scissor operation, this pincher operation you're talking about. I think that the Democrats are going to try to set themselves up to look sane, while the right, dragged by people like Tucker Carlson and others that are leading it, Nick Fuentes, is going to go even more insane. So all of a sudden the Democrats look reasonable. You see the midterms going sideways for Trump and his agenda, and who knows what comes. Worst case scenario, they impeach him and throw him out of office. Best case scenario, they just neuter him for the last 2 years of his term. Either way, it's not a good scene. That's the big fear if we can't contain this radical right movement, at least on the domestic front. But then when you start looking at the global situation, I agree with everything you said. And I just want to add, especially after coming back from Israel and having different briefings, that the relevance of Gaza and what's happening around Gaza to the global agenda, in particular China's agenda, is absolutely crucial to understand. Gaza is kind of, in a sense, a fulcrum upon which, and the Archimedean point upon which they're trying to move the entire world. The main operation that we've dealt with from both left and right, that pincher, is what I referred to as Operation Gaza Floyd, which was to get Americans on the left and the right, especially young ones, to turn against the alliance between Israel and the United States, which is crucial to maintaining that security. But Gaza, based on where it's located and based on the bigger picture of its relationship with the rest of the Arab world, is central to China's Belt and Road Initiative program. So we're talking about a massive global realignment that's being attempted. And it depends on American citizens, mostly American conservatives, because the left is basically lost. American conservatives getting clear-eyed very quickly about the fact that they're being dragged into the propaganda that supports the biggest enemies of the United States possible, not just by outside forces that are mimicking, MAGA patriots online, but by long-standing trusted names like Tucker Carlson, who, for whatever reason, which I could only speculate upon, are advancing this propaganda. I'll just point out, since you started out talking about Nick Fuentes with his video, talking about how great China is, which I think I shared, actually. One of my friends dug that up and sent it to me. I'll point out that in those videos where he's praising China, he's actually talking about how what America needs is a Chinese-style social credit system, that we need to be put on the same program, including with Chinese soldiers in the street, he said, in order to manage all of our different degeneracies. So it doesn't matter if it's a left-wing ESG social credit system that puts us into the leftist program to diminish ourselves so China can rise and take power uncontested, or if we put ourselves on a social credit system in order to fight back with so-called, ersatz Christian values that aren't actually Christian values at all, we still end up on the system, at which point we're manipulable, we're controllable, and we have lost the freedom that's necessary to be able to put up the fight and to form the strategic alliances, like with countries like Israel, that are necessary to prevent this global move by China, Russia, Iran, Qatar, and the new axis of evil. So the test is coming. The test is in fact beginning, and the test depends on faithful American patriots on the conservative side of the aisle, and some that are actually on the left but horrified by what's happening, to start to realize that American freedom is the thing that stops this, that our strategic partnership and relationship for security goals and other tech goals with Israel is what stops this, and that everything in the world with billions of dollars behind it is being dedicated to making sure that those things fail. And we have to stand and pass this test, or else we find ourselves under a global CCP boot that we're going to have a very hard time ever getting out from under.
I'm sorry, I have to ask then. I need to let you go, but I have to ask then, are you saying that, because I've been saying that I believe Gaza could very well be used as a global example of look what we can do when we take Gaza and we digitize everything. We have a PDF, and we have shown the PDF where they're openly talking about turning Gaza into a whole digital system. Everything's gonna be digital. It's basically a World Economic Forum 15-minute city. That's what we're gonna do with Gaza. And I said, folks, if they can take this region, which they've now spent the last 2+ years showing you, hell on earth, and then they can now scrape it and build back this freedom center, that's going to be the model for all of us. If we can get the Jews and the Hamas and Palestinians to live side by side in some kind of harmony where we all behave ourselves, as I think Ellison is the one that said, they're all on video, they're all going to behave themselves. That then can be used as the model. I don't know what's going to go on to Ben Gurion Port. They want to cut through there as well, but I smell a lot of money interest, and I smell Gaza being used as a platform for the rest of the world. Is that what I just heard you also saying?
This is what I'm also concerned about. This is why we have to have this alignment. Israel has to be able to do what it needs to do correctly, rather than setting up this gigantic globalist program, which, like you said, becomes the model. This is the real, if you want to criticize Israel for something, to make sure that they don't do the wrong thing, it's something like that we need to prevent. Because what the average Israeli, from my experience over there in the past week, not that I'm a total expert, what they see is, they're being attacked by terrorists who have done the worst things possible to their people, and they need to defend themselves in a security interest. Building a smart city out of that place, the smart city, is a terrible direction to go. And so everything hinges around that, but it also hinges around it because of the Belt and Road Initiative program. It's not just that they have this opportunity for the model, but if China takes control of various, ports, as you mentioned, in the area, or various the canals in the area, that's their maritime route, if they can establish what they were trying to establish on the land route through Iran, which the U.S. Israeli alliance threatens, then we find ourselves in an economic situation where the U.S. is in a very bad position going forward. Hence, them pushing this America First turning into America Only movement to derange American conservatives to not understand the crucial aspects of the area over there and what all is happening. And we have to have this freedom movement with its eyes wide open and clear, being able to speak clearly into that situation on all of these aspects, or else we're in a big problem in the next 2 to 3 years.
All of these crises, you have to look at them as a manufactured crisis or an exploited crisis to get the people to go where they otherwise would not go. And I'm looking at many things, including the flooding of our country with the illegals to create division, murder, chaos, hate crimes, as they call them, because people now start reacting. Well, let's poke the Christian in the eye and the patriot in the eye until they say the things, out of frustration. Then we can say, see, we told you there were haters. Now we need hate crime laws. So they're gaslighting everybody. And we could use the collapse of the border or now the SNAP program. And now all of a sudden it's all over the news about how many people, 59% of illegals are on SNAP, how many people are selling their SNAP. They don't even use it. They sell it for cash so that they can then go buy drugs or alcohol or whatever else they want to do with it. Maybe a new pair of sneakers or who knows what. Now, we need to cut that down. We need to get rid of that. All right, let's get everybody a biometric chip. Get everybody a biometric. So now we know they're not abusing their SNAP and selling their SNAP. Watch how every crisis is either created to be exploited or is a crisis they then exploit. But the end is the new system. And I think that's what's coming. And we could talk for hours. And I want to get you back. But in the meantime, I think people should go right here and follow you. He's got about 550,000 people following him, which I'm thankful for, because we need people to be, particularly young people, to be following him to counter the lies of people like Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, and the others. Follow him. Conceptual U Ames. Is that it? Yep. No, Conceptual James. Conceptual it looks like James. A U there, doesn't it? But it's the L and the J making almost a U. Conceptual James. Am I saying that right?
Conceptual James.
Yep, at Conceptual James. So follow him, and we look forward to having you back. And let's talk about us paying you an honorarium and your hotel, and come on over a few hours from where you're at, and let's do several hours in the studio.
Sounds like a great time. Thank you.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much, James. Appreciate your being with us tonight.
Yes, sir.
James Lindsay checking in, folks. Check him out there. Follow him on X. All right? We'll be right back after this break. Go to worldviewtalk.com. Get your satellite phone like I have, because you know what? China is in on our power grid. That is a matter of proven fact. If you want to have communications with your loved ones, your family, your children, maybe your spouse travels, maybe you have a child away at college, you want communication should the grid go down. That's why you need a satellite phone, worldviewtalk.com. But look what else they have. They also have solar generators. I have one of their solar generators. I have the Delta Echo 400, a solar generator. So I can, of course, charge my satellite phone. I can run my coffee pot. I can run my whole house if I want to. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com, or use that number, 1-866-738-3224. They have very friendly operators that will explain to you their products, but you can explain to them what it is you're desiring to acquire. How much electricity are you wanting to generate with this solar generator? Well, they'll tell you what size you need. worldviewtalk.com or 1-866-738-3224. Joining me now is Anni Cyrus. Anni, welcome back to the broadcast. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Brannon.
All right, we've got like 15 minutes. We're going to have to hustle here. Let's go right away to this guy, the director of NCTC, which is Joe Kent, who I've interviewed before, put out a warning to law enforcement after the release of a video by one of the leaders over there, the AQAP's leader, Yet the FBI is still telling law enforcement in our local communities that Al-Qaeda isn't planning a homeland attack. What is this all about, Annie?
Well, they're telling people Al-Qaeda is not planning any attacks because when the attack happens, they're going to blame Iran regardless of who does it. If you remember, Brannon, yesterday I even apologized for jamming your phone because I was sending you a lot of information on Iran. That's no surprise. I cover Iran myself. But then sudden move of Europe and America talking about Iran is what got me to that conclusion. Coming to realize there's no covering for Iran. Iran's playing, with their hands open. So they figured the best way is now we're going to bring everybody's attention to Iran. And when those we have shook hands behind closed door with come for our citizens, we're just going to turn around and say, it wasn't Al-Qaeda. It had nothing to do with Syria. Afghanistan had nothing to do with it. It was Iran. That's it. That's why they will emphasize and they will repeat the lies. What is that saying? Repeat a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. Now,
Certainly.
I'm not saying Iran is not. I've been the first one to scream about Iran for 10 years. But this move is a little too obvious. This is a bad game they're playing. They are going to, no matter who comes at us, they're going to point their fingers at Iran.
Why? So they can justify bombing them or to protect Qatar and these other people?
There you go.
Let me
There you go.
let me
Right there.
finish the sentence. So we can protect Qatar and some of their other buddies that they are in financial relationships with?
Number one, so we can protect our current administration to take no blame. Number two is our current administration and specifically our current president's buddies to be protected, including Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the time we bought for Hamas, the money we sent to Hezbollah, the money we sent to Taliban. We can protect all of that by saying, you see, it was Iran. We tried to negotiate with them. We tried this. However, no, do not expect us to bomb Iran. We're not going to go up against Iran. That's when Trump is going to tell Netanyahu, you know what? You're right. He will admit to one mistake, stopping Netanyahu from finishing Iran. That's when the war between Iran and Israel will resume.
That's when the war with Iran and Israel will resume. I want to share a couple quotes by you in your article. You have an article called Snap Out of It. They're reloading, not retreating. Donald J. Trump, June 21, 2025, quote, Iran's key nuclear enrichment facility has been completely and totally obliterated, end quote. True or false?
Absolutely false. I said it's false. The very moment when the bombs dropped, you called me, you said, let's get on air. We got on air and I said it barely made a dent. People can go back and watch your show. It was a lie then. It is a lie today. It will continue being a lie. And by the way,
and now it's too deep. I mean, where they moved it to is so deep. We don't have the bombs to go that deep.
Not just us. Nobody has the required bomb or weapon or launcher today to be able to reach the new location.
They would have to put boots on the ground and get in there, right?
That would even be impossible. It's in an area of Natanz where boots on the ground equal start a war, conquer certain area, infiltrate, go in, get to the mountain, then go into the facility. Yes. And here's the thing. I know your audience know me well enough to normally take my word for it, but within that very substack you showed, I also coded a national security how do you say it?
Analyst?
Thank you. Analyst from Israel who has come out and said, stop saying Iran is isolated. They're going to go hide. They got nothing to lose and they're retrieving and they're getting ready to come at everybody.
Is that Michael Oren? Quote, Iran doesn't think it lost. That illusion is precisely what makes it so dangerous. The regime believes it adapted to Israeli missile defense and started learning how to bypass it, end quote.
Yes. Now, if you scroll a little bit more, there you go. We are
At a historical turning point. The regime is dangerously precisely because it's isolated and because it sees an opportunity. Michael Oren.
Exactly. Now, on the other side, on the reporting that I put out every day as posts, not articles, posts on my Substack, I report in last 4 days, the agency, the nuclear agency, has made it its mission to repeatedly scream that we know they have the 400 kilograms of enrichment. Yesterday, agency said we have spotted new movements and they have enough material to make 10 bombs if they choose to do so. How can we believe what Trump claims, Brannon? Again, this isn't me claiming, though I did it that night, and within a week after, I reported on Kolang Mountain, which is the new location. Of course, it was disregarded by majority of supporters of Trump that I'm making things up because I have bad memories with Iran. But fast forward to today, the Kolang Mountain has been confirmed by Europe. It has been confirmed by agency. It has been confirmed by Israel. The enrichment I put the amount on my first report saying it is over 400 kilograms is missing. Next day, Hexet came out and said, it's a myth, it's a gossip, it's rumors, there's no such a thing, we got rid of everything. Today, agency in Europe are confirming that they know for fact Iran moved 400 kilograms hours before we dropped the B-2s. I also said they have resumed activity immediately. Though, as recent as last week, Trump said, I tell you what, the last thing Iran's worried about right now is doing their bomb thing. They're so scared and they're all hiding because I'm such a scary blabbermouth. There you go. They are back on active. And another report I put out, and this one was covered again. Everything I'm covering today, Brannon, somehow is covered by other people too. What does that tell you? From June until today, me and you were the only one. You graciously allowed me to come on your program and talk about all of these reports. In last week, suddenly Iran is topic of our government and national security issue and FBI and well, that tells me they're getting ready for the attack and they want to make sure they have a fall guy. Iran is not coming for us. They are terrible. They will come for us one day. They have their individual soldiers to come kill certain people like myself. I had a report that came out yesterday about Masih Alinejad's case in New York.
Okay, I want to get to that in just a second, but I'll give one more quote by Michael Oren. He said, Tehran believes it can inflict heavy damage. That belief forced Israel to accept an early ceasefire, end quote. What does that mean?
In that area, he's referring to the ceasefire that Israel accepted with Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
Israel was so concerned that Iran is getting ready to come back, they decided to stop fighting Hamas, or better yet, not risk losing Trump's support because they're waiting, they're counting minutes and days for Iran to come back for revenge.
And so they're still waiting on missiles from Iran to come back in.
Well, exactly, especially with 48 hours ago report coming that, forgive me, what metal is it? The material was sent from China to Iran that will produce up to 500 missiles.
Uranium?
No, it's a different.
Let me look it up.
It is. Hold on, I can look at my own report too because I actually put it out. But now Israel is actually boosting budget specifically for Iran only because when they heard the news that Iran is about to make about 500 missiles, they decided we need more budget to fight them because Israel knows Iran's coming for Israel, not America, not today.
The sources say the shipment, which began arriving September 29th, contains 2,000 tons of sodium perchlorate bought by Iran from Chinese suppliers in the wake of the 12-day conflict with Israel in June.
Yeah.
It's part of a determined effort to rebuild the Islamic regime's depleted missile stocks. Several of the cargo ships and Chinese entities involved are under sanctions from the United States.
Mm-hmm. Well, to be fair, Russia and China, Day after the sanctions from Europe, by the way, these sanctions aren't from America, for the record. We have not put any sanctions in Iran yet since the ceasefire. But the European sanctions, when it is snapped back, Russia and China both issued a statement saying we will not honor it, this is not legal, and we're going to continue doing business with Iran. Nobody held them to it until this shipment, which was delayed for some reason, I don't know why, but based on Israel report, it arrived in Iran on October 27th.
Okay.
That was.
I want to go real quick before we run out of time to the fact you said Iran is going to come after us, but not right now. They may do something with some of their terror cells here, but they're not coming after us right now. Is that what I heard you say? And if not, then who will this attack really be? Will it really be Al-Qaeda? And is Al-Qaeda not backed by Iran?
Al-Qaeda is not backed by Iran, well, not financially or by plan. Okay. They are by weapons. If, you know, bad comparison, but we sell weapons to Israel when they need it. Mm-hmm. Iran sells weapons to Al-Qaeda when they need them. Okay. But tracking what I'm tracking based on what's happening in Gaza and with Al-Qaeda publicly releasing videos, I do believe the foot soldiers are going to be Hamas members, but the brains behind operations are going to be Al-Qaeda and the finance and the planning and the blueprint. But I think the foot soldiers will be Hamas members who can be tied back to Iran. And
the move up, we read today on Worldview Report, the story about the fact that I guess they're moving these strike forces. They were supposed to have these strike forces ready to go by April. Yeah, and now they're going to have them ready to go in January. What does that tell us? I think that's over at Worldview. I've already showed it tonight. It's over at worldviewreport.com. So what does that tell you that they're supposedly moving these things up to be ready to go by January of 2026 versus April? What does that tell you?
What it tells me as Anni Cyrus is beginning of 2025, my calculation was correct, and we're going to get hit by Christmas season. Do you remember when
I do remember you saying that. Absolutely.
And again, I'm no general. I'm not a retired military person. None of that. I'm just very good at setting and finding patterns. I'm very good at following patterns, not getting distracted. And early on, when Trump took office, the pattern showed me that we are not to see the next year without an attack. So all of this just adds to my guesstimate of Christmas season is when we're going to get hit. And again, I repeat, in last 10 days, suddenly Iran coming back up, that's another red flag. Why? Why suddenly? In middle of Qatar saying they're trying to bring Iran back to table of negotiation with America, America comes out and say Iran is getting this. They're admitting that they're working with China. They're getting missiles up. All of that together tells me that, again, end of this year, as we're approaching it, is when we're about to get hit based on their own intel, and they're getting ready to point finger just like they did to Iraq after September 11. Now they're going to point finger at Iran. And though I have been probably number, if not two, voice out here saying, pay attention to Iran, pay attention. Iran is not coming for America with an attack. Iran is getting ready to take revenge on Israel during those 12 days. That's where they're going. That's where their focus is. They're not going to attack us here. As I said, they have hired people to kill certain individuals, but they are not coming for an attack. So whoever comes for us here in America is not Iran.
Okay, here is coming from the Independent. Pete Hegseth to set up National Guard Quick Reaction Force to quell unrest across all 50 states. And it says right there, the memo stated Hegseth's Department of War will deploy military trainers to every state and territory to get the program operational by January 1st, 2026. We were showing reports it was going to be April 2026, now January 1st, 2026. So there you
go.
Well,
they see what we see. They see more than what we see, Brannon. They get more intel than me and you and Sarah Adams and everybody else. So, of course, they know they have to hustle. And no matter what, Trump administration is going to defend and protect their quote-unquote allies.
Okay, but why would they need
right
100 sets of crowd control equipment to be used to support this requirement? As says their troops will be trained in how to form squad-sized riot control formation, how to use a riot baton and shield, how to supervise a riot, crowd control operational. Are they planning on the economy collapsing, or it's getting a terrorist attack, or food riots? What are they planning for?
They're planning. Well, they're getting intel that Red Green Axis is making their move. Red Green Axis is, last time I was on your program, we talked about the vote on Saturday, and I said there's no way they're going to come to an agreement because they need those rallies and so-called peaceful
So you
protests
still don't
going
see
on.
them funding the SNAP before November 1st?
No.
And do you think that the terrorists could take advantage?
Attack.
Okay, there you go. That was my question. Do you think that the terrorists could use the chaos to camouflage their attacks of the country?
That's the whole plan. Yes. Yes.
So you got the Democrat Marxists, the red, working with their Islamist friends, the green, keeping the government shut down, even though we heard John Thune, Senate Majority Leader, say last night 13 times we voted to do this, and you guys won't do it. I mean, doesn't the president have the power to go ahead and just bust this thing up and push it through and ram it through? I mean, the House and the Senate do too with the nuclear option, don't they?
Yes.
So what's going on?
Well, here, look, going back real quick, let's do a quick connecting dots. On November 4th, 27 Muslim, 8 out of 27 socialist Muslim are running for offices to take office in January 2026. Keep that in mind. Now we're going to come back to Trump administration has enabled financially and credit wise. They have enabled Turkey, Erdogan. They have enabled Qatar, and they have enabled Iran and Hamas. Fast forward to Trump wanting to prove to everybody on midterm, you should all vote Republican because Democrats are the evil of the country. That's whatever. Have your own opinion on that. The left needs a flip of idea in America. The left needs, including a lot of independents, to stop thinking Democrats are the only evildoers of America. Left goes to their ally, being the Muslims. It's like, okay, we're going to create the chaos that's needed. You come in and create the grief that's needed. Then our 8 socialist Muslim are going to come into office January, and they're going to give people a solution. That's my scenario. I might be very wrong, but that is what I see coming out of all of this going on in the last 10 months.
All right, 2 more points. A hit list.
Yes.
The hit list are real. That's over at your website tonight.
Yes. I won't spoil it too much, but a conviction took place in New York at a court yesterday. Masih Alinejad, another Iranian-American activist and journalist, there was a plot to kidnap her and then to kill her and her husband. This has started 2021, concluded today. The involvement ended up being 2 Russian mob members hired one of their assassin, who's a Russian, in America to carry out the mission. All 3 of them were convicted. Okay, all 3 were convicted, and one of them who turned against the other 2 testified, a very chilling testimony actually, that the entire plot, the plan, and the money was all put together from IRGC, and they even received $30,000 upfront deposit to carry out the assassination. Now, I have also included my calls, Brannon. You allowed me to come on your show back in 2021 and 2023 to say I received a call from FBI myself to let me know I'm on a hit list. You've seen Salman Rushdie on August of 2022. Again, Brannon brought me on his show when he got stabbed in New York. On stage, survived, but
and a speaking engagement that had not been pre-announced.
Exactly. So I have calmed down a little more since yesterday, but I don't know what else it takes for people, Brannon, to realize I'm not here on your show. It's almost a screaming right now. My hand's shaking because I like it. When Trump or Biden or Obama or any of them, when they go and save the life of these people, They don't care about
because
us.
President Trump boasted he saved the life of the supreme leader in Iran
Exactly.
by calling
He
off
saved-
Israel. By calling off Israel.
And also by not going after him himself. He put a post saying, we know where you are, but we're not coming for you yet. Why? President Trump, this man is hiring people, paying to kill your citizens. I'm an American citizen. Masih Alinejad is an American citizen. Pastor Parsa is an American citizen. We're American citizens. When you go save them, when you go buy time for Hamas, you are betraying all of us here in America because your ego and peace prize is the most important in your life. There is no negotiation. Enough. Close the border, close the door, let them kill each other. Let them drown. Put the sanctions. Brannon, where are the sanctions? He stopped the 12 days war back in July. Where are the sanctions? We haven't snapped any of them back yet. Why? Because he thinks he can somehow negotiate with Iran? We just had a conviction. Why is he trying to make a deal with Putin? 3 Russian mob members tried to kill Masih Alinejad. I'm going to make this personal, Brannon. Since yesterday, when the conviction came out, I've been sitting here, I'm like, okay, so who do I trust today? Hell's Angels working for IRGC. Russian mobs are working for IRGC. Iranians in America are working. Who do I trust anymore, Brannon?
Well, you can trust us.
Of course. But my mind is racing. I've been in prayer all day thinking, is this it? Should I just pull the plug and be done with it? My own government here doesn't care. And again, forget it. Let them get me. Let them get Masih. Let them get Salman Rushdie and Pastor Parsa and all of us. Why are Americans so set not to believe it?
Well, somebody got Phil Haney.
Exactly. And look where that got us. A lot of his own supporters believed the lies of FBI.
And attacked us for saying otherwise.
Exactly.
Calling us up and dropping the F-bomb on us and stuff.
Exactly. So it's, unfortunately, on a personal level, I don't know where I'm at. I really don't. On a professional level, between my health and the issues, as you know, I only come on your show this week, audio only. My own show, I haven't done my show. I canceled any other interviews. It's exhausting when you're putting all the proof. And I have shown receipt every single time. Go look up the court from yesterday yourself. What else does it take? Does Masih Alinejad need to die for people to start chanting Stop Sharia? Or do they need to get me? What else does it take? Are we going to wait for this major attack to come? And then we're going to believe the lies the federal government's going to feed us? And then we're going to move on with our good, lovely Muslim neighbor who's going to run for City Hall next week? It's enough.
Wouldn't a terrorist attack actually disrupt them? And then I got to wrap. But wouldn't a terrorist attack disrupt that? I mean, they're moving toward taking over by getting in elected positions. Why would Al-Qaeda risk an attack now when their American people are voting them in?
Well, people of America are not voting in the Iran's IRGC. That's why Iran's going to take the blame. Right now, none of them are going to be Palestinians or Afghans. So no, it's not going to hurt them at all. However,
in fact, if it has the reaction of 9/11, it'll boost it, because after 9/11, Islam actually was boosted. More people converted to Islam after 9/11. They became so intrigued by this religion.
Exactly. You just finished my sentence. In fact, it's going to help them because Americans are willing to. I have one single comment on my Substack on the report of the 11 candidates in Georgia. There's one. I normally don't interact with comments mainly because I don't have the time, but this one got my attention fairly quickly, where it says, seems like you are the delusional one and you need to seek mental health help. So I replied and I said, do you have fact for your statement or did I trigger you? They replied by saying, not triggered at all. But the fact that with such confidence, you're claiming that these Muslims in Georgia are going to do something wrong on their banner of journalism, you're taking away their civil rights.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, okay, then let me go seek some professional help for my health issues, not because I got issues with them, because I can't handle mindsets, ignorant mindsets like yours anymore.
Yep. 100%. 100%. All right. Well, we're going to have a busy time. I want folks to pray for Annie. I want you to go to liveuptofreedom.substack.com, read these articles, pass them around, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. And then you need to go to her website if you want to order up the, let's go, LUTF Studio. What's that? LUTFstudio.com, right, Annie?
Correct. LUTFstudio.com.
All right. Go there and you can check out some of her great handmade art that she makes herself. They're unique, one of a kind. Check them out there, LUTFstudio.com, LUTFstudio.com. This is a way she supports herself so she can keep doing all this work and research and bring it to us. And then pray for her because she has a pretty serious neck issue that she's been trying to get worked out. And that's why she's not been appearing on camera. And so be praying for her health and her peace and her protection, because as we just saw, Iran is working to take out dissidents here in America and working with Russian mob. So there you go. Other than that, everything's great in the world, right, Annie?
Fantastic. All around our rainbows. Wow. Happy fall.
Liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Thank you, Annie. All right, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brannon.
We'll be right back after this short break. We have a big announcement, folks, something we've been waiting on for several months, and it's now here. It's called Bella Melt. You were on it for just 1 week when you lost 3 pounds. So in the first week, you lost 3 pounds on this, right?
That is correct.
Your GLP-1 is a natural hormone that's in every single one of our bodies. And your GLP-1 lets you know if you're full. It's a satiety hormone. So when your GLP is working properly, it does help suppress your appetite as well as reduce those cravings. It's a sugar-free fast melt caramel. So what it's going to do best is it's going to reduce your sugar cravings or any other cravings you have in your body. It's going to suppress that appetite. But where Melissa got the most benefit, I think, over the last week was the L-carnitine. The L-carnitine tells your mitochondria, this is where we've talked about it before, this is where you produce energy in your cells. It actually tells those mitochondria to burn fat for fuel. We're noticing other people losing up to 7 pounds in the first week. 4 pounds has been about the average. As you lose weight and as you take these Bella Melts, it's going to help lower that blood sugar in your body as well.
All the information is there. MelissaHouseBG.com, MelissaHouseBG.com. Just now introducing for the first time Bella Melt with GLP-1 Fast Action. All right, joining me now is Dr. Basima. Let's talk about GLP-1. That, of course, is something that is all the craze now. Many people are looking for an alternative to Ozempic. And, of course, we have the Bella Melts, but there's also this shot. And we've talked about the side effects and the horrible side effects of the shot, which is why, of course, Bella Grace developed the Bella Melt, which is not the shot. But ironically, Dr. Basima sent me some information on GLP-1. I said, whoa, we should talk about this because, we've been talking about this on the Bella Melt side. So she joins us tonight to talk about GLP-1. Dr. Basima, thanks for coming back.
Thank you so much for having me, Brannon. Hope you're doing well today.
I am. Thank you very much. Let's go to GIP and GLP-1. Okay, this is coming from the National Library of Medicine. So tell me about this.
Yes. So, this was the article that really swayed my mind in terms of whether or not I wanted to use GLPs in my practice specifically for weight loss. I'd used it prior for our diabetics, and it had amazing results for them. But then I also started looking at some of the statistics with our diabetics, and we were seeing less serious effects of strokes and heart attacks and things like that. So there was a connection between the GLPs and the GIPs combination now with reduced chronic diseases. And so I was at a peptide conference about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and this study kind of summarized all the other benefits of using GLPs. Now, it's all these other benefits that really swayed me into agreeing, being okay with using it and prescribing it in my practice. Now, everything we say today is just information. It's not medical advice. I'm not recommending anyone go out and get it. But if you need it, and certainly if you have risk factors, and I'll share some examples of patients with you, then I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think we should be afraid of it. And that's my point of being here today is read this article. And there's also one picture in that article, I sent it to you earlier, I think, that kind of summarizes all the benefits of GLPs, not all of them, but a lot of them in one single picture, which I thought was really profound because when I started to look at all the benefits and I thought, I shouldn't be afraid to use something that our body naturally makes. Now, where we go wrong, I'll send it, I can send it to Logan right now if you want.
I think we have a picture here. Let me see here. I think I have it. There we go. Is that it?
That's it. So that there shows all the benefits to all the major organs in your body, whether it's pancreas, increasing beta cell production, which beta cells are the things that make the insulin to begin with. So we actually see a proliferation of beta cells. So a lot of diabetics have decreased beta cell function. This actually helps improve beta cell function, and it helps make new beta cells. So proliferation of beta cells, for example, helps with liver detox, with the brain. It's neuroprotective. It actually helps with things like dementia, Parkinson's disease, which we know at the root of these diseases is inflammation. And so this has huge immunomodulatory effects. So it really affects our immune system in a good way. It even has cardiovascular benefits. And this is the one thing that I have seen and studied that actually reverses plaque in the arteries, according to this study. This is not my opinion. This is all in the study. And those are facts that you cannot deny or just keep practicing medicine with a closed eye because you don't like to prescribe medications or because you want to do everything naturally. Now, from a functional medicine perspective, you bet we will introduce a really healthy diet. We'll, the Mediterranean diet, we'll walk you through it. We have dietitians, we have health coaches to really keep you on track. But absolutely, this is a tool that can be used and used wisely. We don't have to super dose it. And what patients are finding out now, that obviously not my patients, because we're really, really intentional about instituting a really good diet with our patients. But what people are finding out now is you cannot outdose a bad diet. So you will lose weight eating pizza and ice cream and take GLPs because you'll eat less pizza and ice cream. But the problem with that is then you will not have the benefits of losing fat and gaining muscle. And that is the goal. When we promote weight loss, at least in our clinic, we are really promoting fat loss, not just weight loss. And we're actually helping our patients try to gain as much muscle as they can, while overall they're going to decrease some muscle. We're trying to increase lean muscle mass as well.
All right. So, yeah.
And I'll tell you why I kind of wanted to talk about this is that article you sent me. That was amazing, by the way. I read that article. I wish I had it in front of me, but I don't. So, but I know you can share it. It's the one that you sent me on
Coca-Cola.
The 36,000 person study in Australia that showed that people who drink diet soda 1 per day or more have a 38% increase in developing diabetes. Now, what was really interesting about that study is that 23% that drank regular soda, not sugar-free, not 0 calorie, not Coke Zero, the regular soda with the regular sugar in it, actually only had a 23% increase in developing type 2 diabetes. What's really interesting with that is that just goes to show you how horrible drinking diet soda is for you. It's actually worse than regular soda. in just one metric, which is developing diabetes. But then we don't even go into the effects of inflammation, the effects of gut microbiome, the effects of behavioral change. You know, when you drink a diet soda, your brain thinks it's just gotten sugar, so it tells it tells pancreas to start making insulin. So what does that do to your appetite? So it really dysregulates your appetite. So there's so many things about drinking diet soda that are not great for you. But the reason why I wanted to talk about GLPs is because what we've done in this country is we are really, really good at taking shortcuts. And there are no good shortcuts. Now, that's one of the reasons why I didn't use this for so long for just weight loss, because I didn't want to be teaching my patients shortcuts. Do you know what I mean, Brandon?
Yeah, I think.
When you take a shortcut,
shortcuts like not cutting out the Diet Cokes, the sugar, the candies, that kind of stuff.
The shortcut in what we call the SAD American diet or the standard American diet, the shortcut is, well, if I can't have soda, then let me make something I can have that doesn't have calories in it, without taking into consideration the chemical and biological effects it will have at the cellular level.
Okay. And then that's the aspartame and all that other garbage.
That's right. That's right. I mean, we're not even talking about the potential carcinogenic effects. We're literally just talking about how it affects the gut microbiome, how it affects inflammation, how it affects increasing your risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, all these other things. Why would you drink? So basically, instead of saying, you know what, soda's not great for us all the time, but I'll have it on special occasions, what we've done instead is we've decided, well, let's just do this instead. This is no calories, so we can have as much of it as we want. That's the shortcut. That the hard work is saying no. You're not going to have it all the time. And that water is okay. Sparkling water is great. And then, water with a little bit of lemon in it, or herbal teas, things we've talked about before. Yeah. I think there's a soda called Bubbly, I think it's called, or Poppy. It's got some prebiotics in it. I don't think that's too bad for you on occasion. Of course, it's like $3 a can, but that's what it costs to make something good. And I don't want to say healthy because I don't want to super promote it, but I don't think it's horrible to have that on occasion.
All right, let me ask you about, is it called red light saunas, Logan? Ultra, what is it? Red light therapy?
Yes.
Because I have one of those saunas.
Yes.
And I've had it because my wife and daughter wanted one.
Yeah.
And
that's smart.
Yeah. And I used it about twice.
Oh, wow.
Okay. How long do you think we had that, Logan? 3 years? I've used it twice over 3 years. And
do you have a sauna? Do you have infrared sauna? Is that what you're talking about? Or do you have the red light therapy? The red lights, the bright red lights.
No. You walk in, you open a glass door, you walk in.
So you have infrared sauna?
You sit down on a wooden bench, and it holds two people.
Yes.
All right. So had about 3 years. I've maybe used it twice. The wife and daughter wanted it, so they got it for Christmas or whatever I bought it for them for. And I think they really wanted it for me, but they said it was for them because all they could do is harass me about getting into that thing. And I'm like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. And my wife finally said, I see you sitting here reading, doing research on the phone, answering emails. You could set your little fanny in that thing and do it at the same time. What's the difference? I'm like, aren't you smart? Because I'm like, I don't have time to do that. It's a waste of my time. She's like, you could do the same thing you've been doing, all the work you do. You could just sit in there and do it. I said, wow, aren't you smart? It took you to tell me that. So I've been in there now for 4 days, 40 minutes in the morning.
Per session?
Per session in the morning.
Okay.
Sweating like a pig when I come out of there. And my wife's like, that's awesome. You're getting rid of a lot of toxins that way.
That's right. That's right.
But what pushed me was I've had a pinched nerve, I think I told you last time, under my shoulder blade over here. It's been going on for 3 months, making my hand numb and feel like it's feeling like it's falling asleep.
Okay.
And a masseuse has worked it out a little bit, but it's not going away still. So my wife said, I think that's really good for it. You should get in there. So I'm so tired of my hand feeling numb and like it's falling asleep. and the pain as well. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. So I go in there and I can still go in there and read and work and answer emails and text and phone calls. And after the first day, I was like, okay. And then the second day, and by the third day, my muscle, my pinched nerve is so much better, number one. But number two, I've got more energy. I'm like, whoa, there must be something to this thing. So I'm on day like 4 now.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, you act like you have more energy. I said, I do. And I feel more limber and loose and my pinched nerve is getting better. What's your whole take on this? Because my daughter keeps telling me you can fight dementia and Parkinson's. And I'm like, and who are you again? So, no, I'm not that bad yet.
Yeah,
she's worried I'm going to not know who she is. So, because Melissa's mom is going through this kind of thing with her end of life, right? And now it's got all of us thinking about what can we do now to offset that in the future. And my daughter just keeps hammering on the fact you got to get in that thing and use it every day. So I'm on like day 4 or 5 now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so let's go with what the studies say, not just my thoughts. And the studies, so just for, number one, the muscle recovery and joint pain, the infrared heat penetrating those tissues is, and relieving that stiffness, and also kind of pushing through what your massage therapist couldn't do. I wouldn't say don't go to the massage therapist now, but I would definitely continue doing that and do cupping also with that area. That will really help reset
cupping,
that muscle.
Help me with the cupping thing.
Cupping is where they, cupping is a procedure that they use where they suck the skin up with a little suction cup, and they can really pull apart some of the tissue that starts to form adhesions, that starts to really pull muscles and create these balls underneath your skin. So very common. One of the most common areas is inside of the shoulder blades.
Really?
Yeah, especially people who are hunched over, reading a lot all day long. So,
that's me.
Yeah. Oh, good.
See what I go through.
Therapy.
See what I go through for you guys, listening friends. Hunched over my commentaries, my Bible commentaries, my work and research. See?
Yeah, absolutely. Cardiovascular and metabolic support, mitochondrial support, sirtuin proteins increasing. Absolutely. And the studies were done on 20 to 22 minutes daily. And when I go in there, I try, let me take that back, about 4 to 5 times a week. So not every single day. But when I do my infrared sauna treatment, I will go in there for about 22 minutes. I like to give my body a couple minutes to kind of acclimate to the temperature, because you're not getting the benefits the second you walk in. And you're right. I like to actually not do any work while I'm in there, because I like to, this is my time to pray, my time to meditate. I'm not in there 40 minutes. There's studies that show excessive sweating on a regular basis, especially if you're not adding back in the electrolytes, are not good, especially for women and osteoporosis development and things like that. So you do have to be mindful that when you're sweating excessively like that, now infrared sauna, you're not going to sweat as bad as a regular sauna, but you are getting internal temperatures that are going up. Some of these saunas, the one I sit in is 180 degrees.
Oh no, mine's at 125.
Yeah. So yeah, ours is 180 at the gym. That's what was studied. Believe it or not, it was studied at the higher temperatures. And so yeah, you want to make sure you're drinking those electrolyte drinks that we talked about in the past. You know how we talked about taking 32 ounces of water, putting a little Celtic salt and a little lemon juice, and maybe a little tiny bit, like a half a teaspoon of maple syrup, pure grade B maple syrup, shaking it up. It's like a lemon Gatorade, homemade, all good for you things. But the maple syrup and the Celtic salt have a lot of minerals that your body needs if you've been excessively sweating. So because of the meditation aspect, along with the heat and its calming effect, we actually use it a lot for our patients for meditation and stress reduction and nervous system regulation, regulating the sympathetic fight or flight with the parasympathetic relax and digest. So you know what? Skin benefits, cardiovascular benefits, detox is what you're talking about, and probably why you're feeling better. If you're going to do this, there are actually some people, and I know some of your listeners are these people. They're like, well, every time I go in a sauna, I get sicker. why is that? Well, because now we're actually releasing toxins and we're trying to get it out of our bodies, and our liver is sluggish. So there's actually a liver detox pack that we sell for people like that. I actually put people on the liver detox pack on the days they go into a sauna, preferably the PM pack the night before and then the morning pack the day of. And your symptoms are significantly reduced because what we've done is upregulated liver detox pathways to hopefully get the crap out of there better. And I would highly recommend you do that too, Brannon, because you want to make sure you're really affecting the liver in multiple different ways that are all beneficial, phase 1, 2, 3 pathways. So that's what we do to significantly decrease those side effects, because believe it or not, while you're feeling better and more energetic, there are a lot of people that actually this makes them sick.
Oh, wow. So I shouldn't be doing 40 minutes. I should be doing 20 minutes.
In my opinion, in a perfect world, and I know you very well now, and I hope you've gotten your blood work, by the way.
No, because nobody will come and take my blood, but those Islamists, they sure keep emailing wanting to come take my blood. But if you could find those, that lobotomist.
I gave you those 2 numbers that you can reach out to.
Did you text those to me or what? Email them?
Yes, I texted them to you.
Okay, I'm going to get Logan on this or Melissa on this.
Because I'm also checking some of your genetic testing just to see what your risk for dementia is also, because then we can create a personalized plan for you, not just sort of go sit in a sauna. It'll be personalized for you. But insofar as your temperament is concerned, my challenge to you would be to sit in a sauna and pray.
Alrighty.
Instead of work for 20 minutes. But you know what? The benefit of sitting in a sauna is you can work, an infrared sauna, you can work. So I'll take that over you praying and meditating. But if you can do that, your prayer time, and meditate in deep breaths, it will really help balance that immune system, the nervous system out a lot and decrease your risk of things like, being sick or disrupting sleep, or so many benefits of meditation. So you're kind of getting 2 for 1 during that time. Plus you're spending time with God, which is really good on a regular basis. So,
okay. But 20 minutes, not 40 minutes.
20 minutes for most people is good enough. Okay. But like I said, I need all of your studies so I can make a personalized plan.
I just looked in our text thread with each other. I don't see numbers. Doesn't mean you didn't send them, but I'm not seeing them. I do know you gave me one company and they didn't answer. And seems like this is a real issue to get some blood taken. It shouldn't be that difficult, should it?
No, there should be is a place called Anytime Lab near you. If you just type in Anytime.
Yeah, I think we looked that up. You want to look that up again, Logan? Anytime Lab.
You would have to go. You would have to actually go there though, and then bring your kit with you and get your blood work done. That's it.
All right. Well, I want to get this done because I'm very eager to see what the results are.
And you know what? I just worked with another podcaster who he wanted to share his information on.
Oh, Logan said there's one in Arlington. Well, why don't you call, make me an appointment, see if they're open on a weekend, so I have to disrupt my schedule during the week. But they're not.
Yeah. Oh, they're not open. You can probably go in really early in the morning.
No, I thought they were going to maybe. Oh, they're open on Saturdays. Wow. I thought maybe they were going to take I donated some blood to someone probably 12 years ago that was going in for surgery, a family member, and I donated blood. Oh, wow. When I came out of there, I was like, that's way too much blood they took. I was feeling horrible. I don't think this is quite as much blood as they were taking from them.
No, it's not quite as much, but I will
they
give you
kept
some pointers.
filling up everything. I was like, you're going to leave me any there, baby girl? I mean, she was just draining me. I'm like,
well, they have to run a whole, they have to take your blood and then plus run a whole bunch of tests on it to make sure it's clean. So, I mean, they have to draw a lot of blood, but I will tell you. Yeah, one thing you can do, you do have to be fasting when you go in for your blood work, so it does have to be in the morning. And then also bring some ice cold water with you, because what happens with a lot of men is they have these attacks where they sort of feel like they're passing out because it's a lot of blood. And so drinking cold water and even maybe putting a cold rag on your forehead really helps vasoconstrict the blood vessels so that you don't start sweating and feeling like you're going to pass out.
Oh.
That's called a vasovagal effect of
It didn't
of a
seem
needle
like
going
there
through.
was that much blood. It was like 4 or 5 little tubes. It didn't seem like it was
Yeah.
that much.
Yeah.
Not compared to
Yeah.
what they took that day I was donating blood for someone to have
No.
surgery. That was a lot of blood.
No, this is a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of blood when you're giving blood to donate surgery.
And I didn't
It's
have
a-
any, I just felt tired after it. I didn't.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Can't
All right.
do much.
Logan found somewhere, so hopefully we can get this done.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to your website here before we wrap it up here. Worldviewvitamins.com. Plug this. Tell people how great it is and why they should be doing this.
Yeah, I mean, we have people that are calling us all the time. Just, there's sometimes when we run out of a supplement, and our company does not compromise in terms of raw material, so we reject 40% of our raw material. It has to be super clean. It has to meet our standards, and then plus it's all third party tested, super highly absorbed, super highly bioavailable, supports sleep, supports liver detox, supports all the antioxidant effects. So really, really good. At the very, very least, minimum, get the foundational pack. But, there's some people that want, especially this time of year, Brandon, when people get colds, just one cold will wipe out, a week's worth of work for some people. We have an immune boosting, supporting pack that combines the foundational with foundational immune. That's a very popular one this time of year, as well as the common restore. That's a very stressful time of year. The common restore is it really supports calm and the parasympathetic nervous system. So definitely great supplements. I don't have a problem at all selling them, promoting them, whatever, because I know how clean they are. I know how good they work, because I've been using them for 15 years on my patients.
There you go. Worldviewvitamins.com. Worldviewvitamins.com. As always, Dr. Basima, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure. Thanks, Brandon.
All right, guys, would you like to hear one more testimonial? I hope you'll call right now, 901-468-9357, 901-468-9357. We're going to play a lot of these on December 4 and 5. Do I have the dates right, Logan? That's going to be our International Online Worldview Weekend. That we're going to preempt all programming that Thursday and Friday and do a 2-day International Online Worldview Weekend with amazing guests, folks. And throughout that 2 days, I want to play a lot of your testimonials for people to hear about the impact that this now next year 36-year ministry is and has had. Will you call 901-468-9357 and leave your testimony? Here's one more testimony before we call it a night. Roll it, will you please, Logan?
Yes, I am Dennis from Tucson, Arizona. I am so grateful I found VCY America and Brannon Howse. The one most important issue for me is to find out about the evils of replacement theology and how to combat anti-Semitism. God bless you, Brannon, and your team in VCY America. Thank you. Bye.
Wow. Logan, can we play that one tomorrow? Let's play that one tomorrow for a VCY audience to hear, too. He's listening to the big blowtorch station that's been picked up by the VCY America Radio Network. And thank you, sir, for doing that. Wow. I'm hearing these for the first time, just like you guys are. I've not heard any of these in advance. That is awesome. All right. Well, thank you for doing that. Thank you, sir, for your testimonial. And folks, I hope you'll leave one as well. 901-468-9357. All right, roll the music. Let's call it a night. Again, worldviewfoundation.com if you'd like to support us. Worldviewfoundation.com. And don't forget all the great products at worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. By the way, Logan, our new hymn channel should be going soon, right? 24-hour-a-day hymn channel, so that maybe you can unwind a little bit, have a little bit more peace of mind in the morning or at night before you go to bed. I know we cover some stressful topics, but we also want to offer you some peace and comfort as we have a brand new 24-hour-a-day free hymn channel starting very soon. Another broadcast ministry program of Worldview Foundation and Worldview Tube. Hey, thanks for watching. May God save America. Take care.
You're watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of
faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon Howse.
Welcome. Glad you're with us. All right. Is Tucker Carlson under demonic influence? This is a legitimate question. Is Tucker Carlson under demonic influence? Can someone also grab the clip of him talking, make sure there's no cursing or anything, the clip of him talking about a demon scratching him in the bed and leaving physical marks? How many of you remember that? We've played it. I had the opportunity to interview for Brannon Howse Live last night, Dinesh D'Souza, on his new film, The Dragon's Prophecy. I've not seen it. I'm looking forward to seeing it, but Dr. Woods has seen it. And he called me, he said, Brannon, this is amazing. That he is saying what you and I have been saying. He is explaining in this film why Satan hates the Jews, must wipe out the Jews, so that there is no fulfillment of the covenant, making God a liar, so that there are no Jews who come to Yeshua, who are part of the 144,000, the 12 tribes of Israel, described in Revelation chapter 7. And we have these 144,000 Jewish evangelists from those 12 tribes who are a mighty spiritual force during the tribulation. And then you have those who physically survive, make it through the 7 years, roll with their physical bodies into the new millennium, into the millennial kingdom, and receive the land covenant, fulfilling all types of Old Testament Bible prophecy, all kinds. And it is a demonic plan, and we have described that for a long time, have we not? That it is a demonic plan. And Satan hates what God loves. Satan hates what God ordains. God chose to use the Jewish people. He chose to use them. He chose to use the Jewish line by which God did to bring the Messiah. He chose to use the Jewish people to give us the word of God. He chose the Jewish people from there to have the disciples, Jewish disciples, become the apostles who lay down the foundational doctrine of the church to give us the church in Acts, the day of Pentecost. We see it memorialized in all of eternity in Revelation chapter 21, when the New Jerusalem comes down out of heaven. And the 12 tower gates are the 12 apostles, or the 12 tribes of Israel, and the 12 foundations are the 12 apostles. And so you have that distinct memorialization for all of eternity between God's program of the Jews, Israel, the 12 tribes,